Hey guys, Greg Alexander. So what do you do in the fall? The temperatures have dropped. The fishes seem to have disappeared from where you had been catching them when it was a little bit warmer. Cold nights, warmer days. Seems like, good, decent weather to go fishing. But man, you can just go down the bank and cast all the bushes and the trees and the undercut banks and the grass edges and all those things, and you're just not getting bit. The question is, are you stumped? Well, stumped might be your answer. Take a look at some of this on the water footage and then we'll discuss it. There's a super nice fish. He's two and three quarters probably. I'll tell you what I'm doing. Man, it's got cold early this year. I mean, it's mid-October and we had nights in the 30s already. Multiple nights. Just about every night's in the low 40s. Water's cooled off way quicker than normal. I'm in a small lake today and the water temperature's about 60, 61 degrees. And these fish don't want nothing to do with the bank right now. It's cloudy. So I'm just kind of out here in this 6 to 7 foot of water towards the middle of the lake, kind of looking for stumps with my forward facing sonar. And you can see a lot of activity. There's a lot of bait out here moving around. And I've thrown at 100 stumps and 100 blips. Finally catch one. So that's what you're gonna have to do on a day like today. These fish pull off the deeper water and suspend around something off the bank. And if you don't have live sight, of course it's going to be a lot harder to try to locate that stuff, and then it's just blind casting. So that's what I'm doing. We're going to see if it keeps working. That was a good fish. We'll see if we can build on that. Still doing the same thing. Look how fat that little fish is. They're out here eating on, there's some type of bait out here swimming. I'm not sure what it is. I didn't think there were shad in this pond. Maybe there is shad in this pond. But anyhow, I got a couple to react to that chatterbait slow rolling it, and I thought, man, these fish are kind of suspended a little bit around these stumps. So I picked up the jerk bait and made about 5 casts, and there's a nice fat little fish anyhow. Too much fun right there. That was too much fun. Unbelievable. That was too much fun right there. So there's an absolute hammer. I'm gonna tell you how I caught that fish. I'm panning around with my live sight here in about 6 or 7 foot of water on this pond or this lake. It's got stumps out off the bank, you know. All these ponds, they were cleared at one time. They put a dam in and left a lot of the stumps. Fished down the bank for about an hour this morning. Never even had a sniff. Saw a lot of bait swimming around. And I thought, man, these fish are not on the bank. Even though it's cloudy, calm, you would think they'd be up around the tips of these trees and things, but they're not. So I started getting out in the middle of the pond around the stumps and started throwing at stumps and blips. Caught a decent one I showed you, caught another smaller one. I just had 2 or 3 pull off on a jerk bait. Well, that fish there, that was so cool because, you know, I fish a lot of rivers, tidal rivers, and that live sight doesn't do much for you as far as like locating fish. You can locate some structure and a drop off, but you can't really locate a lot of fish with it. And a lot of the fish you do see are, you know, pelagic trash fish, you know, carp and catfish and gar and things like that. So anyhow, I'm panning around, I'm throwing at all these blips, and I'm throwing at things that look like stumps also. And I'm reeling this jerk bait in. And when I get about 30 feet from the boat, I can see the jerk bait pretty good. And I get over top of what looked like a stump or a big blip. You can't really tell sometimes. And it's a slow sinking, shallow diving jerk bait. Got over top of that stump, and I just let it sit, and I just let it sink down on top of that stump, what looked like a stump. And I gave it one jerk, boom, 4-pounder. If I was working it faster, he'd have never hit it. But I was able to stop that jerk bait right over top of that stump and kind of let it sink down almost like a Senko and caught that great big fish. That was pretty cool. Toothies are biting that too. Another hammer. I got 2 or 3 of them chasing it, and they got competing, and there you go, good fish. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give you another little tip here. I'm just on a shadow wrap. I've caught on all kinds of don't get hung up on the bait. Shadow wrap or any other type of decent high quality jerk bait's going to catch these fish. The bait's not that important, the exact one. So I'm gonna give you a tip here. If you look on the bank, see that big tree? Well, that's where he lives when he's on the bank. So today they're not in that stuff. It's fall. They've pulled off of the bank. They're in a little bit deeper water, and they like to get around stumps or open cover. And these fish are around these offshore stumps, but they're not. The two biggest fish I've caught today have been, you know, a half a cast out in front of a big tree on the bank. So if you see a big tree on the bank in the fall, you want to kind of work outside of that. Where's the first place he can drop off to and hang for the fall and even the winter. So that's something that you need to pay attention to when you're out here fishing. Nice 2-pounder, still biting it down these stumps. So what happens here? So, you know, the fish, the water in the shallow water against the bank, and after these cold nights, cools way down. You know, that shallow water cools way down. If you get a sunny day, the next day, that shallow water warms up pretty quick. So there's a period of time between the evening and the next afternoon where those fish don't really want to be, you know, up on shallow cover. So they pull off the bank. Okay, so they're not just pulling off the bank to nothing, they pull off onto something most of the time if there's something to pull off onto. And in this video that I've been showing you here of these on the water catches, these fish have pulled off of the bank. It's in the morning, it's cloudy, there's no sun really for the fish to want to even move back up in sun or move back up and catch that warmth, you know, like your dog does when the light's coming in through the window, he goes and lays in the sunbeam. So it's not even there, so they don't even have any motivation to move up there. So on these types of days, you know, these fish are going to stay either suspended or offshore next to something. A lot of cases, their favorite thing to get next to in the fall is stumps, and they'll stay on those stumps, you know, from fall all the way through winter. And a stump basically is a little radiator on the bottom of the lake. You know, it's connected, hard connected with roots to Mother Earth, which is always going to maintain some level of heat. And it also, if the water's clear enough and not extremely deep, that sun permeates on that big old black stump and creates heat. And of course it gives bass, you know, something to get next to because they are ambush predators. So when the water gets cold, starts cooling down in the fall, they disappear. Don't just keep going down the bank hoping to get lucky, because you probably won't early. Now, later in the day, you know, if you get a sunny day or a warm day, later in the day, these fish are probably going to move up on the cover, the visible cover that you can see with your eyes later in the day. But cloudy days or early in the day, they're going to be out on these stumps or rocks, if you got rocks in your lake, big rocks, or hard drop-offs, or deeper riprap type banks. That's where they're going to be. So don't make the mistake of fishing for fish that you caught 2 and 3 weeks ago, because fish move. Like I've said in some of my videos before, bass fishing is not an Easter egg hunt. They're not where you left them. They constantly move. So you have to constantly adjust to the situation with a little bit of understanding. You know, let's just say this. If it's not working, don't keep doing it.
I've done it. Trying to force something to happen because I believe that it's going to happen. Trying to force for it, and before you know it, you're out of time and you didn't do very good. If what you're doing is not working, you got to do something else, you know. And most fishermen have a hard time, you know, not fishing with their eyes. And, you know, if you have a live sight or a live scope, that's going to help you a lot in these fall and winter times when these fish move off of the visible cover onto these underwater objects, dumps, logs, drop-offs, rocks, riprap, and edges, things like that. So they also get against, you know, like straight sheer bulkheads and things like that that have a little bit of water on them too. So keep these things in mind next time you're out fishing here in the fall, and don't get stumped. Go to the stumps. Again, I thank you for watching and have a blessed day.